Should you buy a Polestar 2? Watch this video to find out more.
Hey guys, it's Saturday morning and we are headed to Grubb's Polestar, which is a brand new dealership, part of the Grubb's network in DFW here. And we're gonna test drive and do some reviews for the Polestar 2, both the base and the performance model, hopefully as well. So we're pretty excited, and check out the video to come.
This is a beautiful example of a Polestar 2. It's a dual motor finished in midnight, which is their color for blue, and it really represents the next stage of EV cars in America. And in this review, we're going to talk a little bit about the exterior styling, the heavy Volvo influence, as well as some of the features inside that make this a really fantastic option and an alternative to the other electric vehicles on the market. So let's talk a little bit more about this particular example. We're going to walk through. This is a dual motor and it has the Pilot Plus and other packages, but it does not have the performance. And this is the $5,000 upgrade that's going to get you the Brembo gold calipers, the upgraded suspension, and the colored belts. But this particular model really represents what most buyers are going to opt for. And I think that it's a great example of what an average EV is going to be without this focus on blistering 0 to 60 times. On the exterior, you can really tell how this is a beautiful car. And there are some immediate Volvo influences from the headlight design, which really invokes the consistent theme of Thor's hammer. You have full LED. You can see a little bit of detail here on the LED pixel technology, and that's what they refer to it there. This car is very subtle. Everything about it is meant to evoke curiosity and not be in-your-face branding. So the logo. Every car has a color-matched logo, which is very subtle. In this Polestar, it has no text, it has no lettering. You really are forced to ask a question, and what is this car? It's really how a logo should be. Now, on the design cues, this car is much sharper. It has 90-degree angles, it's very boxy. This is really, I think, going back to some of the design language, talk about the immortal 240. And I think that Volvo likes that. They want to be known as the boxy. They don't want to be round. You know, all of the comparisons for this car talk about the Tesla Model 3. And I call that the melting catfish. You know, it's really kind of a sad looking face. And the performance is undeniable for the Tesla. I will give them credit. But when you're looking for a car on styling, and when you want to have a car that gets attention and it makes you proud to look at this, and it gives you a good feeling every time you look at this car, the Polestar does it. It is a car that is unique, and it has its own personality, and if you like it, you will look back at this car every time you park it. We took this for a test drive. It definitely gets attention on the road, and it's very unique, and it's not like a Tesla. Apart from the Volvo headlights and some of the bumper design elements, the hood, you know, all of these lines, the straight edge hood, identical to existing Volvos. Let's take a look at the wheels here. We have 20-inch examples. They have all-season tires for the non-performance package. Again, for most people, that's going to be enough. These are 20-inch wheels. The ride feels very good. I think suspension has figured out how to use larger wheel diameters in a good setting. So this is one feature that is maybe not the most attractive, and all of these cars, they intentionally come from the dealer and they're delivered with this little sticker. Now, it's just a decal, so your finger can catch that, easily removable if you want, but it is something that is a little bit opposite or anti everything that I was just describing about the logo and about the car not having any names, or about the logo not having any text. So to access the trunk on the rear, you know, it has beautiful lines here, but Other than just kind of this very subtle logo, I'm not sure if we can see it, color match logo, there's no other names. This is a debadged car. I have the key in my pocket, and so you have to open it with your foot there. Plenty of cargo room. You know, we have this cargo divider that's been much talked about, how useful it is. I think it's useful. I would use it. Underneath here, you know, you have more storage. If you're somebody like me, I probably have some bottles of water, I have a blanket, maybe some food, and I would just keep it under here permanently. Here they also have the charging cable. A lot of people have that in the front, and we'll go up there soon. You can see the pass-through, and let's see. We can take the seats down. There's a little bit of a recess here. It's pretty intuitive. It's the only place that I would grab. But you can see how easily the seats go down, and you can open up all of this for storage space. For the auto close, you have a power close rear hatch, again, straight from Volvo. If that's not a Tron looking car of the future, I don't know what is. Love that full width. If we take a moment, we can take a look at this panoramic roof. It is really continuing another Volvo design trend with a very large glass roof, and that is something that's really nice inside. We'll take a look at that further when we're in the interior, but that's a feature that I like to see continued. Let's get a shot of the mirrors. Everybody has talked about these, but these are frameless mirrors. And what I mean is there is no bezel that's separate from the glass. The glass extends all the way to the edge. And the way Polestar has designed it is when you want to adjust and tilt the mirror, the entire housing moves. And so whether this turns out to be a good or an expensive design, it does create a very nice, clean silhouette. When you're driving the car, there is no bezel, there's no gap or shade in between. It's really just all mirror all the way to the edge, and it just kind of fades into it. It creates a very sharp line that's pretty pleasing to look at. Integrated turn signals, pretty standard. You also have a new camera down here. Let's look at the charging cap cover. It's going to be a press to release, and you have a standard NEMA charging plug here. You've got a nice LED indicator to give you some light if you're in the dark. Other than that, standard Volvo parts on the cover. So now that we're inside the car, let's take another look at this panoramic sunroof. This is really a nice feature. It's full glass. It really lets in a lot of light. This particular model, it's tinted. And inside here in the dark, you get a nice view of the Polestar. And this is kind of an illuminated feature. It's really kind of a nice touch. I like this on the car. It makes the car feel special. It's a little bit of an insider. You know, only people who know about it will know that it's there, but Polestar, that's what the brand stands for. It's your guiding light, and it's always up here guiding you to true north. I like it, you know, it's those little things that build a little bit of character into the car, and I think Volvo has done that with Thor's hammer and everything that they do to tie the brand in. Let's take a look at this interior. This is really a great selling feature of the car. You have a lot of thoughtful design. There's plenty of headroom. I have this seat actually adjusted pretty far back, but it's down. I'm about 6 feet tall. I have plenty of room to reach the pedals. And the steering wheel is you have telescoping and vertical adjustment. So you can get exactly the seating position that you need. And again, that's a carryover from a Volvo part. let's take a look at this interior. Immediately when I get in, I notice Volvo. This entire steering wheel, the gloss piano black interior pieces, all directly cribbed from the current generation Volvo, which isn't a bad thing. You know, I really like the interior of my car. You've seen my other reviews for the S90, and it's really held up well. The only thing that they've changed here is change the steering wheel airbag logo from a Volvo to a Polestar, which is fine. I don't think that's a problem. Continuing inside, you see more of these soft touch. All of the controls are directly from a Volvo, all of these stock. And so it's going to be very natural for anybody coming from a current generation Volvo. Windshield wipers, and same for the door. If you look at the door here, these pull handles are these solid metal, again, highly reviewed, really durable, and they've held up well. All of these switches, the window controls, the child lock, the door lock, and these are all standard from a Volvo, which is good. You know, I think that it's going to have better reliability, and it's perfectly okay in a first generation to pull from an existing model that works really well. This is the only way to close the door, and for me, sometimes this is a little bit awkward. On my car, I have a little bit more depth. We have a larger door on the S90 or other Volvo models, and so you're able to close the door with a center pull here. Here you have to reach up, and this is really the only place. You could grab this, but it's pretty low. Again, driver memory functions, gloss piano black. It's held up pretty well despite you know, a risk of showing scratches. So this is the only place to close the door, and it can pose a little bit of distance. I have pretty long arms, but this is a stretch for me. Once you're in, you're immediately greeted with a full touchscreen dashboard. You can see a little bit of that screen interface. Looking at this, you know, it's that giant iPad style. You can see there's a gap between the screen and the dash, but overall this is a very responsive system. So we can split here, you know, we can adjust that way. This is where you can go into car settings, one pedal drive. We'll talk about that on the drive, but standard, it really decelerates the car. I was preferring low. Steering feel, standard versus light. Creep, this basically is a feature where if you're at a stoplight and you let off the gas, do you want the car to roll forward or creep forward, similar to an idle for a combustion engine? That's a feature that a lot of people in EVs like, and so having that option is really useful. Again, look at these menus. They're super fast, very responsive. Have not had any problems with these, and I think Volvo has really learned from the first generation Sensus of letting people who are experts in user interface and this chip technology and the processing speed, letting them develop a product a lot faster, because this is a Google, and this is a Google product. You don't have car designers trying to approve equipment 3 years before the production model actually reaches consumers. And so you have Google, who is able to do this a lot faster. So, you know, we pull up the Google Maps. Okay, well, we're okay with that. So we can turn on those features, offline maps. But again, look how fast this is. We're zooming right in here in Dallas, Texas. We're up here in Grapevine, and you can just see how responsive. So I would say that my generation Sensus has that same style of responsiveness, but only when you first run the car. When the car has been running all day, it's been processing multiple entries, that's when my Sensus starts to slow down. So I think that's something that remains to be seen on this. However, I'm very confident that Google Assistant.
That's me. How can I help?
Navigate to restaurant.
There are 9 options in the area, and you can tell me the number of the one you want anytime. Lind is 0.2 miles away.
So let's pick a real restaurant. How about Babe's Fried Chicken?
There are quite a few chicken restaurants to choose from, and you can tell me the number of the one you want anytime.
Number
Babe's
2.
Chicken in North Richland Hills is 12 miles away.
So again, this is Google Maps. It is incredibly fast. It gives you an estimation of your battery when you arrive to your destination. Again, this is going to be 80% or 90% of what Tesla does with the charge at destination. The calculations are pretty accurate, but we'll talk a little bit more. I have a full review with a current Polestar 2 owner who's had the car for over 6 months. And we'll talk a little bit more about the technology and the calculation process. But as a baseline feature, the Polestar has it, and it works well. Here we can see some of this. This is a brand new car, so it hasn't had a lot of data to import. So yeah, here's the manual. So let's take a look at this all digital dash. This is a new Polestar product. So in reverse, we have this great rear camera. This is an all new camera and an upgrade from the Volvo product. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in park. And the car will stay on, so the AC is running. Again, this is very comparable to any of the electric cars like a Tesla, and it doesn't turn off until you actually open the door. Let's talk about this seating material. This one is fabric, and it's got the dual air material. It has a little bit of suede here, but it has the bolsters that are covered in a more durable fabric. I like these seats. They're comfortable. They're not especially supportive, but if you look here, remember this car. Again, more ties to the history of Volvo since 1959. I believe that was when they introduced the first 3-point seat belt. Headrest. Again, this is a car built on safety, and I think with little ties reminding you of the safety, they're going to build that consumer that puts a value on safety, and Volvo acknowledges that, as well as Polestar acknowledging that. So I just pulled out here the adjustable leg bolster. You know, it's got a solid feel, but the padding is not particularly comfortable or plush. It's really meant to be functional. So let's talk a little bit about this drive selector. It is this weird kind of hexagon shape. I don't mind it. I think it's pretty easy to use. Your fingers are easy to grab. It's not going to slide. It's a soft touch material, so it's not going to get superheated in the sun or very cold. This dial, again, this layout and style will be very familiar to current Volvo drivers. I really like this dial. It's kind of got a beveled edge. It's a little bit of a diamond cut, and it's a little bit nicer than mine, which has just a normal serration. Again, immediate buttons for volume. You know, this is the play pause. It silences the audio. You don't need to fumble around for the screen. I think that's a very common complaint, is burying immediate options in the screen, when sometimes if you get in the car and the radio is just blasting, hit pause. You don't need to mess around with the screen. You can just turn it off. In emergency, you have your flashers. Here, so you do have a traditional shifter. I know that you know, the new Teslas don't really have any gear selectors, right? You can manually do it on the screen, but otherwise the car predicts whether you want to go in reverse. And so we're sticking with a traditional PRND drive selector. This works really well. You have to have your foot on the brake, and then when you park, you know, you can affirmatively hit the park button. But again, all this center drive is the gloss piano black. It's held up really well for me. Otherwise, you have this faux wood here. A lot of the interior materials is Polestar using environmentally friendly materials, and I don't have a problem with it. I think that all of these materials are soft. They're going to give you some give here. They're not too harsh. This is a hard plastic, but up here it's a little bit softer. And again, it's a nice interior that you wouldn't mind spending a lot of time in. This one also has the Harman Kardon sound system. For the cup holders, there's the standard center, and if you want the second cup holder, you have to release this center console and tilt it all the way back in order to access the second cup holder. Let's take a look at the rear legroom now. I'm about 6 feet tall, and I've got a really a comfortable seating position. This is a positive improvement of the electric vehicles, is that you have a flat battery pack on the cabin floor, and so you're able to have the seats a little bit more of a delta between your feet and your hips. So I have room. My seat is adjusted for me as a driving position, so it's not particularly pushed forward. I've got plenty of room here. Again, I love the nets. They're another carryover, direct transfer from the Volvo, but hey, nothing wrong with that. And if it saves time and money, and if it works, nothing problem. We have a different style of vent controls. You know, these are the same knurled knobs in the Volvo. I really like them. They have a very solid feel. They have a little bit of an extra bezel for controlling those vents. Otherwise, you have one USB, and you have your heated seat controls back here as well. It's a little bit tight for an armrest. The doors on this car are just a little bit shorter, and so if you're coming from something like a full-size sedan or a full-size SUV, you're going to have a little bit of a cramp in here, and the elbow resting position is not a very natural position for me. It's a little bit pushed forward, and it's going to ask you to rest your elbow like this, as opposed to something back here, which is a more comfortable position. Otherwise, the car knows when you're buckled in, and it gives you a little chime. That's what it was when I buckled my rear seat belt. But from back here, you have a great view. You don't feel claustrophobic. What's nice is I think that the angle of this headroom is angling up, and it's not flat or impeding your vision. So it's angling up on the side of your head. Again, you have the same solid metal door pulls, very nice. 2 more cup holders back here. We'll be very big on cup holder count, but again, directly pulled from a Volvo, nothing wrong with that, and it's a little bit of the shorter one. Let's take a look at this center armrest directly from the Volvo. You do have this curtain for the rear ski pass-through, and what these bars are is actually the extension of the middle headrest. And again, safety. This is another important safety feature for anybody who is riding in the middle seat. You know, you have your lap belt, but being able to raise the headrest and support the back of your neck is really a key safety function. And I think it's little details like that that really shows how Volvo and Polestar are committed to safety, and this is going to be a very safe car. Let's look at the front trunk release. It's this button, this lever here. You're going to have the standard Volvo parts. This release is a Volvo part, engine cover, the wipers, these hood struts. Everything is pretty much pulled from a Volvo. There's not a whole lot of storage up here. You have a jack. You have a few more safety. You have a compressor. Let's see what else this comes with. This is tire sealant. Not all the cars get this. Tow hook, pretty standard. So a lot of people, this is not a lot of storage, and so what I typically see is you're going to have your charging cables. You're going to keep those types of items up front because there's not a whole lot of room as a daily driver to store materials here. You get a look at the badge, Polestar Performance.
This car, it drives really well. It has enough pickup that the delivery is going to really make you feel like it's accelerating faster, and it's that electric, instant torque compared to a normal combustion engine that takes some time to get up to speed. So even though the 0 to 60 times might not be as impressive, the driving feel is a lot faster.
Use the left lane to turn left onto Texas 114 Business West.
In California, they're so common, you kind of don't want to get a Tesla. You don't want to be like everybody else, and some of their fanboys are just, it's the culture that you don't want to necessarily associate with so much of like, well, yeah, they're good cars, but they're not perfect, and Elon Musk is not God.
This is a great commuter car, everyday car for the working man or woman.
This is an everyday car. It's really a great commuting. A really popular trend now is where households and families will have one electric vehicle, usually, Polestar 2 sized, and then they'll maybe have a second car that's larger, like a true SUV that is an internal combustion engine for your long road trips and bringing the dogs. But it gives people kind of that hedge where they get a lot of the benefits of an electric vehicle. It's great for parking, technology, the adaptive cruise control for traffic, but that is a really good solution, and you don't need charging at home. I have another video where we talk about people who charge either at work or people that charge in their neighborhood. That is good enough for a lot of people who don't need a charger at home or even at the office. Maybe I will turn off the low. Let's turn low.
I think the low setting is a much more natural braking.
So the driving characteristic on typically smooth roads, this car handles really well. I don't think you're going to get a better handling car. It's a little bit of a sportier suspension, so comparable to something like a 3 Series. It's not going to be the ultra plush or high-end luxury ride like a 7 Series BMW, but in terms of handling, you have steering feel. This car handles like a sporty sedan. The car just has power, so when you go fast, it's there. Instant torque. I'm gonna put the indicator on, and that piped-in noise is a little staticky or muted. I'm not sure if we can get that. So here we'll do a little bit of pilot assist. This is the Volvo name. Still gonna want you to bump the steering wheel. It's not full self-driving. It's not nearly to the level of a Tesla, but for stop and go traffic, I use this every time I get on the highway. I just set it at the speed limit or a little above, but I just leave it. I don't worry about accelerating. It's gonna give me the firm warning, but it keeps me in the lane. It does a lot of minor things, but it really decreases the stress level for me to be driving in normal stop and go, or not even stop, but heavy traffic. So that wraps up this Polestar. This is a non-performance model. I think that you've really gotten a sense of the styling, the interior, as well as the exterior of the car. We've done a test drive, and this is a phenomenal car that most people are going to get everything they need. And really the question of when you're looking for an EV, they're all becoming very, very good. And if you're looking for this technology, tried and true, this is a platform that works. Do you like the styling? Do you like the size? These are going to be the important questions. If 0 to 60 is not your number one concern, this has enough range. This has the dealer network. This has the charging capability. And this is really a fantastic car. So smash that like button. Leave a comment if you have any other opinions about the Polestar 2. And otherwise, we'll see you next time.